Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Balls Deep, where we get balls deep into this movie. As always, I am Peter.
And I am Brian.
And tonight's movie is going to be, Brian.
Tomorrowland.
Tomorrowland. I'll let you start this one off, Brian.
Okay, Tomorrowland. Now, here we have a movie that is written and directed by Mr. Brad Bird, whose his big breakout was The Iron Giant.
Great movie.
Great animated movie. Followed that up with another great animated movie and a Pixar classic, The Incredibles.
Which we are all still waiting for a sequel.
Which it has been confirmed. He is writing the sequel as of now.
Good.
Then he did Mission Impossible 4, I believe. Yeah, because 5 is coming out next, so he did Mission Impossible 4.
4 was a good one. 4 was a good
Fun
one.
action movie.
Didn't like
and now
second or third one, but the fourth one was pretty good.
Yes. And now here we have his new movie that he has co-written with Mr. Damon Lindelof of Lost and The Leftovers, new show on HBO, which is really good, by the way. And yeah, now here we have his new efforts, teaming up with Disney yet again. And overall, I have to say I enjoyed it. I know you...
I it's not that I didn't enjoy the movie. I thought it was a fun ride. It was entertaining. I feel that it wasn't worth the money to go to the theater to see it. I wasn't super thrilled with the whole thing. I kind of anticipated each plot turn as it came across. Plot development, keys and people pushing the plot forward when it needed to be pushed was very, very evident, and it wasn't subtle. It was very much in your face. And another thing that I didn't care much for, I get it, but it was the just in your face political views that political and environmental views that the writers had with this movie. This movie was just very heavy-handed with everything, and
yes, it was. I have to remember though that it is geared towards a younger audience. It is trying to get these messages across to a younger demographic of viewers, so it can't really be as subtle.
However, I did like the fact that
the message is good.
No, I do like the message. Don't get me wrong. I do like the message. And before I let you take this away, because he liked the movie more than I did, and I want him to talk about this, I did like how when they talk about showing us, our society, the evils that we are capable of and the evils that we are doing, and how instead of being afraid of it and trying to change our path, we embraced it and took it upon ourselves as part of ourselves. And I like that because, there's this meme out there, and I'm sure you can find it. There's this meme out there that on the top it shows a beautiful futuristic world, flying cars, green grasses, just a beautiful sunset, this gorgeous city, and it says what kids in the 90s thought the future would be like. And then underneath it has this post-apocalyptic, just nuclear wasteland, just Armageddon city, and it's very dark and surreal, and it says what kids today see the future to be. And so that was the first thing when they really started getting into everything, like the apocalypse kind of thing. That's what popped into my head, and so I like the fact that they were with the story of Tomorrowland, they're trying to push forward this view of, we need the dreamers, we need the thinkers, we need the people who have ambition. And at the very end, with they didn't just look for scientists. They had a dancer, they had a gardener, they had artists, they had musicians, they had all these different kinds of people that they wanted to bring back to Tomorrowland to create this utopian world. And I thought that was a really good message. But again, I thought it was very heavy-handed, very over-the-top with a few things, and very predictable at almost every turn with the plot development of the movie. That's why I didn't care for the movie. Message, cool, love it, thumbs up to the message.
I agree that it's a good message. It's a different kind of way because I mean you look at so many of the big movies now. I mean we have Hunger Games, total oppressive totalitarian government. There's at least like it seems every summer at least 3 or 4 apocalyptic movies, and it seems like that's always like the inevitable. It's always like the apocalypse happens, and what's the story that happens next once the apocalypse happens? And this is the first movie that seems to be like, well, wait a minute.
Let's try and stop the
How
apocalypse.
could we... Let's focus on the apocalypse happening and what could be prevented before that, before we get to whatever story could be told afterwards. But anyway, so back to what I liked. I liked that it introduced some cool ideas to a younger audience, and it didn't try to just be like this huge epic giant movie that I feel like so many blockbusters, especially around this time with so many big blockbusters, it's like they try to out big everybody. I loved that like the conclusion to this movie wasn't this huge extravagant 15-minute long fight sequence through the city of Tomorrowland, which is totally what I was expecting, but instead you got this very quiet small kind of conclusion to how they stop this broadcast of this message that's just broadcasting impending doom instead of
with tachyons.
Yes, with tachyons instead of hope. Maybe
Star Trek.
if they had gotten Will Ferrell and his tachyon amplifier. But I think that's mainly what I was pleasantly surprised at was it didn't try to be this over-the-top action movie with these giant action sequences.
I was really happy to see that
they kept it. Brad Bird, he kept it very grounded and didn't try to go for just the extravagance and the show and the flash over the substance of the movie, which, I mean, yes, while heavy-handed, there was still substance in there to be had.
True.
Actors, all pretty solid.
Solid acting. There was
Brent Robertson as Casey, who was fine.
Yeah.
Solid job.
They all, I think, I feel that all the actors did a real solid job. I don't see this... listening to you talk about it and thinking about it a little more, I'm like, they had a good solid message and a good solid portrayal of that message, but I don't see this winning any awards. I don't see it even being nominated, unfortunately, but
back to like kind of just like the ideas of kind of, because I loved the whole when she touches the ring
or the pin, I love
or
that.
the pin, and she goes, but she still exists in her own world. So it's like with the falling down the stairs. I thought that was really cool, and they just like these ideas of kind of like dimensions existing.
But here's what
within each other.
Here's what I didn't like about that. Like, I liked the concept, but she's a smart person. She's supposed to be really, really smart person, and she's supposed to be able to figure things out and understand how things work together, right? She picks up the pin. She figures out pretty quickly that if there's something between her skin contacting the pin, that she can pick up the pin and hold it without going to Tomorrowland. Well, then her dad takes it away from her. She goes and sneaks into his room in the middle of the night and takes the pin back, and she picks it up, and immediately she's in Tomorrowland. And then she stands up, she's sneaking into her dad's room, and puts her hand in the drawer and pulls out the pin. But she's still physically in her dad's room. She sees Tomorrowland, but she's still physically in the room. She walks forward, wham! Like, she immediately stands up, walks forward, and runs right into the wall. Well, her dad could have woken up right then and seen her.
Yep.
And then she's like, ba 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 ba, and opens and goes out through the door, and then stumbles down the stairs.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, great, haha, funny. We all enjoyed that. That was great. But if she's so smart, if she is supposed to be able to figure out how things work, why didn't she fucking figure out that she's still in our world? She's only seeing a projection of that world.
Yeah.
I mean, immediately I would have once I bumped my head in the prison, or not the prison, but in the jail,
like the police department. Yeah.
At the police department, when she bumps her head at the police department,
Yes.
I would have been like, oh, okay, I'm still physically here.
Yes.
But
Yes,
I would have followed. I would have done what she did, where she goes out, she touches the coin, touches the pin, and sees that the city's that way, and she goes that way.
Yeah,
I would have done that. Touched it, looked, touched it.
I chalked that up to just, it was still just the whole, like, novelty. It was like, it was, she probably hadn't really grasped. I mean, the concept, the idea was just so incredible that it hadn't really sunk into her yet.
Yeah, and I get that it was for plot development, and I get that, you know, as a screenwriter, you're wanting to move the story forward, and this is how they were doing that. I get that.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
But yeah, I like the ideas of it, of like the whole parallel dimensions and like the time travel and everything. Like it always kind of reminded me kind of like of Doctor Who, of like an episode of kind of introducing these kind of scientific concepts and all of that, but to like a younger audience, to kind of invoke their imagination of, like, you know, string theory and like interdimensional like existences, like all existing at once.
See, that's the thing that sucks about the millennials and the younger generations nowadays, is that they don't have that you know, awe-inspiring, groundbreaking thing, you know.
Which is what Doctor Who should be. Parents, force your kids to watch Doctor Who. It'll expand their imagination.
It is, yes. Doctor Who is an incredible show, incredible series. Even the older ones that were, you know, terrible. They still are fun. Those I would introduce your children to later when they are true fans of the show, just for you know, history's sake. We had Star Trek, and not. I mean, we didn't even have the true Star Trek, and we didn't even have the true Star Wars, but we are products of the development of what, you know, young adults, not kids, but young adults had from the 70s and the 60s, and from these sci-fi shows that just opened up this whole new world to all these people. And look at what we have. I mean, you look at Star Trek, and you know the original series, and they had communication devices, the flip phones that we had 10 years ago, the Razor. Those were incredible. Oh, bloop, hey, and now we have the cell phones, and we have tablets and pads, and we have all this incredible technology. Why? Because we were inspired by a piece of plexiglass and styrofoam from a TV show in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yep.
But sadly, we don't have that. Now we have CG. And we have a generation that is so just brainwashed on everything. And we're getting way off track.
Way off track.
My point is that I do agree with Brian, and this.
But I feel like this movie kind of harkens back and invokes
and I agree with you 110%.
Ideas.
Brian hits it right on the nail. This movie, I give it props and kudos and extra points for the attempt at doing that.
Yes, and I also enjoyed the narrative structure of it, that it didn't follow the
narration.
It didn't follow kind of the layout that has been established by so many of these big movies. That you kind of started with the flashback of him and like his story, and then you have the constant interruption, and you're kind of like, well, this is being narrated by him, is
and
like,
then it's narrated by her.
And it's narrated by her, and it's her story, and then the two stories kind of collide together.
I did like that,
and then we go from there. It kind of fooled around with kind of the established structure.
And to be honest, my post-apocalyptic and apocalyptic brain was functioning on a format that we were going to have some sort of like epic battle at the end, and,
Yes.
and it was going to some sort of catastrophe. But it was really enjoyable to see, me being wrong at the end of this movie. Instead of where you come into the movie. When you come into the movie, you start at the end, basically. It's one of those movies where you start at the end with a narration, and then we see all the flashback and what happened to get to this point. But then when you finally get to that point, you still have 20 or 30 minutes left of the film. No, this was at the very end of the movie, and I like the fact that you start out, and he and George Clooney, love you as an actor, dude. You start out talking like, this is just terrible.
Yep.
Everything goes to shit.
Just Mr. Cynical.
And then you get to that point, the story catches up with that point at the very beginning, and
you see his arc.
You see the whole character arc with his development, and it's something completely different. I like that. I was thrown off a little bit by that. I like the fact that I believed it was going to be this, and all this shit was going to happen, and then there was going to be more to tell, and then all of a sudden it was just like, boom, haha, gotcha. I like that.
And I think that's what I was most pleasant. It's great when you're pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
By a movie these days, and you kind of go, oh, I really didn't see them going that direction. Like, even if you don't like the direction that they're going, it's still kind of refreshing to say, oh, okay, they at least did something different.
Like near the end of the movie when I turned to you and I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this now.
Yes. I also liked Hugh Laurie's character. It's like he wasn't the villain. He was, you can kind of see where his position was coming from. Obviously, his big kind of monologue about humanity and everything. But, like, I never got the sense that he was, like, evil.
Yeah.
It was just that they kind of they avoided that kind of cliche of making a villain.
Yeah, there was no true
bad guy who was trying to
antagonist to the whole movie.
Yeah, it's just he was just obviously had his kind of own set of beliefs and drive as to what the right thing to do was, and these characters disagree and feel that there is another way to approach the problem. But yet again, another cliche that they avoided and kind of tweaked and did something different with it that I also enjoyed.
I like that because you go into the situation thinking that he's going to be this, evil dictator kind of thing, and then you see that he's not, and he seems like a nice guy, and then he twists it a little bit, and he kind of goes back to being like bad, and then kind of good with his monologue, and then kind of back to being bad. So it was like this waffling thing, but it was never one extreme to another. It was very, almost subtle, bouncing back and forth. Mm-hmm. But again, like Brian said, not so much. There was no like evil character. There was no evil witch or a demon or dragon or anything like that from Disney.
Now, overall, I was pleasantly surprised. It didn't go exactly where I wanted or where I was expecting it to go. Good message, a little heavy-handed, but it is geared towards a younger audience, so I have to take that into account. But overall, I was pleasantly surprised a few times by what the film actually did versus what I expected it to. So overall, I enjoyed it.
I had fun. I wouldn't pay money to go see this in the theaters. Definitely not in 3D. Definitely not in IMAX. Not much noteworthy with IMAX, or especially not 3D. But definitely worth the watch. And not a bad movie to watch on the big screen. Mm-hmm. But if it ever comes to Redbox and if it's ever on Netflix, definitely, get the family together and watch it. Otherwise, I'm a little impartial on this movie. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I think it's worth a watch. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would definitely watch. I would watch it again if it was on Netflix. Yes. I would watch it again, but I wouldn't go see it in the theaters.
But yeah, no, I think absolutely. Get some kids. It's a fun ride.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what. I would take my nephew to go see this. He's 10 years old. He would probably get a kick out of this.
Yeah, and then watch Doctor Who afterwards. Just
get him started on Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm gonna try.
So yeah, I think that's about all we have to say about it.
Yeah. So. Thank you for watching another installment of Balls Deep with Tomorrowland. Until next time, and I do believe that the next episode is going to be about San Andreas.
San Andreas.
So we're going to get to smelling what the Rock is cooking on San Andreas. So until next time, take care.